Welcome, everybody, and we appreciate you joining our vodcast today. What we're discussing today is AI's emerging role in insurance sales. My name is Nick Ortner. I'm the 2021 chair of the Marketing and Distribution section. I'm excited to have Frank Ye from Taiwan Life and Wing Wong from our Taipei office with Milliman to join us today to discuss that role. And with that, Frank, I'd like you to briefly introduce yourself and then along with Wing.
I'm Frank Ye. I'm a fellow of SOA and have worked in life insurance industry for 24 years. Currently, I am CSO, appointed actuary, and the head of business group at Taiwan Life, responsible for IFRS 17 ICS committee, corporate strategy, product design, and all business development planning, including sales channel management, customer management, and digital development. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And Wing, if you want to briefly introduce yourself.
Sure, I will make it really simple. I'm Wing Wong. I am a consulting actuary and a principal at Milliman. I'm currently based in Taipei office, and I've been with the firm for about 22 years now, actually 23. Yeah, we're very happy here today to share some of the ideas, some of the stuff that we've done related to AI. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think the discussion here is going to be fascinating. And what we'll do at the start here is, Wing, interested in how you came to collaborate with Taiwan Life and Frank in developing the AI tool for Sales Recommender.
Sure. We have a team, actually my team, we have been thinking about this for a few years now on the ideas of applying AI to help insurance sales. You know, we are actuaries, we know how tough selling insurance is, particularly life insurance. So one of the focus we were on was to help recommending products to customers. You know, the motivation of this is really came from the fact that we see that the digital insurers or digital companies, retailers, they use data to drive the product recommendation. And so those companies have a lot of data. And when it comes to traditional life insurance company, we often think that we lack that kind of data that say Amazon might have on their customers. But we basically tried to challenge that notion. And is it the end of it? Do we actually not have enough data and we are sitting duck in this environment? So we know that the insurance company really have a lot of them have legacy systems and have fragmented data, and your data may be sitting in many places and sitting in paper oftentimes. And one of the things that we know, and also we sort of reinforce this idea during this process, is that the insurance companies really don't know much about the customers. You know, it's sad to say, but it is pretty much true. Whatever you know, you gathered them maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago when they bought the first policy with you, and those are normally incomplete oftentimes. You know, they're outdated, inaccurate. So can we still do stuff with this data? So the question that we have in mind, can we behave like a digital retailer? So they, you know, in a traditional product recommendation, when an agent sells a product, they perform what we call needs analysis, and you know, that involves the customer and the sales agent alone, typically. And we know that insurance is a tough business, right? And then
Hey, Mike, what? I don't,
yeah, one second.
yeah.
I'm trying to mute. Yes. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think
No.
we're okay now. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And again, Wing and Frank will be editing this anyway. So
Okay, all
Wing,
right.
if you want to sort of reset to where you were rolling, that's good.
No, I think that's fine because I think I start with the last point.
Sure.
Actually, I don't know where the noise started. Maybe I start at a point before that, so just to be safe.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. So a typical insurers lack that kind of a data that the retailer, a digital retailer, might have, and so it is very costly to build out data for a a traditional life insurer with outdated system where we didn't start our business as a digital business, but we believe that despite that, our team believe that we might have in insurance industry, we might have underestimated the value of the data we already have. Despite the fact that the data is pretty much typically all fragmented, they come from everywhere, and a lot of them on in paper form. And also we know for a fact that most insurers don't know our customers very well, meaning what they're doing, what's their income, and all the information that you might have on them most likely would have been gathered 5-10 years ago when they first bought their policy, and those information we know are not very accurate anyway. A lot of people not too honest in telling you all those information. Right. But what can we still play in this area? So that was the question in front of us. Despite all this, can we behave like a digital retailer, and can we use some of their approach? And we know that in a traditional, a typical sales process, we rely on an agent to perform some sort of a needs analysis for the client. And this process involves two persons alone, the agent and the customer. And oftentimes this process is being accused of product pushing, the agent trying to shuffle some product to the customer. And we, on the other hand, we also know in real life, when you don't know, right, if you're trying to buy something that you don't know, what do? You call your friends. Right. Those are your trusted advisor, your friends. But in this situation, the customer doesn't have a friend. But we believe that the customers do, and the friends, the other customers of the insurance company actually are the peers of this customer in front of you. So those are your friends. So by applying that idea, we conceptually ask all other customers the insurer has to help with this current customer. So that was the idea. So this is kind of like Amazon doing, you're buying a fridge today, other people who bought a fridge might or have bought this kind of stuff. Would you want some, right? So basically that's the idea. So we set out to prove the point, and we were looking for a partner, and Taiwan Life talked to Frank, and Frank is very innovative. His company, Taiwan Life, has been investing a lot of money in digital sales tools, a tool they built called iCash, and it's for the salespeople. And we thought it could be very well placed for our kind of a sales recommendation, where we can push the recommendation out to the tool so that the agent could use. So that's where the conversation started.
Fascinating. I know that we will bring Frank into the conversation in a minute, and I know that as part of our discussion as well, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that you described. But as we think about the collaboration and your collaboration with Taiwan Life as you work to develop an AI-based product, interested as you develop that recommendation tool, if you could maybe give us an overview of a brief overview of what that tool does.
Okay. Yes. The idea is to provide useful information for the sales process. That includes the agent and the company as well. the people who manage the agents. So basically the tool does a few things. First and foremost, it has a prediction function. It predicts for a given customer what this customer might buy next. So we give a list of products with associated probabilities, sort of in a descending order. So the agent can see this particular customer might need this and that, and what's the chance of success.
Right.
And then he can start framing his approach with that information. And so the second piece of information, which we think is really useful, is that we could estimate the lifetime value of the customer. And that's by using the information we would gather from the first feature, which is predicting what this person might buy in the future. And with the associated probability, we could estimate what revenue, what profit, or even what commission this person can bring to you.
Wow.
So that fits, the commission information would be good for the agent, the value would be good for the customer. The value would be good for the company. The company could use this information for strategic initiatives. And then the other thing is customer segmentation. We know that we said earlier, the insurers don't often know their customers very well,
right.
In terms of socioeconomic background. And without that, the traditional way of segmenting customer is to use those kind of information. But we changed the approach around this time. Rather than using a person's socioeconomic background, we use the purchasing behavior to put customers into different buckets. What you've been buying, what you might buy. That will be a way of telling you apart. So the other thing is matching the agent to the customer. So we could matching up what agent is good for what customers. So that information given to the company, and excuse me. So one of the use of this information would be, say, if you have a lot of orphan policies, the policy used to be managed by certain agents who left the company, and this need to be reassigned. And in the past, they were reassigned kind of randomly or without no good reasons, or even politically oftentimes. Now we have this tool, we can tell, okay, what agent is best served for that customer. So that information could be used in that way. So basically, that's the big things that this tool would do.
Fantastic. Wing, thank you for that background and some of the examples that the tool may be useful. Frank, we have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, interested if you could provide a brief overview of Taiwan Life and the current products and your current sales force and sales channels, as well as some of the innovations and investments that you're making. I think, some of those may may touch upon digitization, e-commerce, perhaps other areas, but we're interested in some of the areas that you're pursuing to support growth.
Okay. Taiwan Life is the country's oldest insurer, established by the government in 1947, privatized in 1998, and joined CTBC Financial Holding Group in 2015. After joining CTBC Financial Holding, we have cooperate with CTBC Bank and created the synergy of complementing channels. For the past 5 years, the asset of Taiwan Life has grown from 500 billion to 2 trillion NTD, and the record high net profit of 16.5 billion last year. We have a different channel development strategy by its nature. The bancassurance channel, many sales investment link and saving type products. And by contrast, the agent channel, many focus on the traditional insurance product, especially protection type products. In terms of agent channel, there are currently nearly 7,300 agents and serve almost 1 million policyholders. In order to improve the sales efficiency of a salesperson, we have launched digitalization transformation team and also developed several digital tools for agents. For example, a digital assistant app which can help salesmen manage their schedules, summarize the customer protection content, and conveniently record customer preference. Furthermore, we help agents to apply new policies through iPad, which reduce time-consuming process and also help to avoid paperwork errors when filing the application forms.
Fantastic. That's amazing background. I mean, the growth that you mentioned from 550 billion to over 2 trillion, record profit over 16 billion. You're obviously doing a lot right, and a lot of information there, a lot of interesting innovations. As we think about some of the challenges you have faced in sales marketing, interested if you could briefly describe those challenges and how you've addressed those.
Okay. From the end of 2018, the insurance regulator announced several policies which guide Taiwan's insurer to sell protection type products and set sales limits for saving type products. Therefore, the first year premium in the life industry have fallen 30% to lowest volume in a decade.
Wow.
The protection type products are more complex and difficult to sell. So sales agents who help to explain life insurance policies and provide services in person become the most important channel to expand insurance business. We also made several agents development strategy to help agents channel grow. The first key is to help our agents to become trustworthy advisors, which require more solid fact-based support to sell the products instead of just product push approach. Responding to the development of digitalization and big data, Taiwan Life has invested heavily in digital infrastructure and the data warehouse since 2018. And through the KYC process, insurance advisory system, and the big data analysis, we help our agents recommend products to customers more precisely and close the deal faster. We are trying to convert data into useful information and provide a reference for our agents to close the deal. For instance, for better understanding of our existing customer, we use the customer relationship, purchase behaviors, life stage, and other useful information to provide advice on retirement planning, insurance coverage, and the investment allocation. Besides that, we continue working and thinking more powerful method of targeting on customers' needs. This is where we see fit when minimum proposal POC projects with us to test smart product recommendation using AI.
Wonderful. I appreciate you touched upon a number of the different challenges and some of the things and some of the innovations that you're working on and pursuing, in conjunction with Wing and his team. Also interested in the benefits that you anticipate an AI tool may have for product recommendation, what that might bring to your company.
Three angles. The first one, it can enhance the reputation of Taiwan Life as an innovation leader and build a good brand image in the market. It would demonstrate that as the oldest life insurer in the country, Taiwan Life is committed to gradually moving toward integration with big data technology. The second one, faced with AI getting smarter, will people be replaced? I think the answer is no. In the life insurance industry, the products are very complicated, which require real human to explain thoroughly. Therefore, AI tools will help human-machine collaboration be succeeded, but will not replace human beings. Moreover, a real human also provide more touching service. This is why we demonstrate strong commitment for agents channels by providing AI product recommendation tool to them. The system could help agents make right decision to right people at the right time, and finally increase hit rate. The last one, it can now help us resell more products to existing customers with lower cost. Managing existing customer is much easier than acquiring a new customer. An AI tool for product recommendation accelerate the process of matching the customers to the right agents. Moreover, it also can help us to implement open policy activation strategy more efficiently and more effectively by matching appropriate agents for customers.
Fantastic. Thank you, Frank. I know that in our discussions at the very top of the video cast, we talked about the number of different hats that you wear there. And I think you touched upon a number of the different hats as you described the challenges and the activities and the innovations you're taking forward with Wing and his team. So thank you for your expertise and appreciate all the insight you provided here. Thank you, Frank. Wing, as follow-up to Frank's feedback on the challenges he described, wondering if you could discuss your approach for modeling and testing, and briefly touch upon some of the lessons you've learned and or the emerging findings that you have uncovered.
Sure. Our goal starting this project is to really to try an approach where we invite other customers to help these current customers. I'm calling it, just inviting the forest to help the tree.
Right.
And so in order to do that, we have to use machine learning to study the relationship of the customer, the product, and the agent. Basically, we're trying to describe the triangular relationship of these three parties. And that's where machine learning is really helpful. And our back testing shows that actually our outcomes are pretty good, and it's pretty promising. We do a lot better than chances. So through the process, it's interesting to see that despite all this limitation and data, and starting with so-called not too fancy traditional insurance company in-house data, we use none of the outside data, and that we could achieve and deliver this sort of information to the company. And so in the process, we actually, as you can imagine, we're going through gathering the data from all kinds of sources and then cleaning them, and it spend a lot of most of our energy really is to get the data ready. Right. But that's just a typical process you would go through with an insurer. So there are a few things that we learned from this process that I thought is interesting. Obviously, we saw the outcome that was quite inspiring to us. And so the first thing we'd say, okay, just, traditional insurers don't underestimate the value of your data, despite all the defects, despite that you're not Facebook, you're not Google, you're not gathering all kind of digital footprints of the customers. We could still do a lot of things, and you could behave like Google and Amazon in many ways.
Right.
And then The other thing is we often hear people say, you know, or actually at least the insurers, what's your digital strategy? What are you going to do in the era of a digitalization? And you oftentimes hear company making statements about investing how much money and building what IT system and data warehouse and all that. And then in reality, many of those decisions are made without really a clear understanding of what the data can be put use for. And so it becomes sometimes hard to justify certain things. You know, why are you doing this? And we don't see, you know, you just can't paint the picture how this can be useful.
Right.
In doing this, we realized that actually the product recommendation tool is a very good way to drive this digitalization process, you know, as a backbone, so to speak. I like to say it's kind of like an aircraft carrier, because it basically, in doing this, it involves involves the customer and the agent and the product, and that's all you do in an insurance company, right?
Right.
And so you get to study all that and understand the relationship, and through improving outcome of this process, this tool, you begin to kind of integrate, everything comes together. You begin to have form an image of what data you need and what other pieces should do, what IT investment you need.
Right.
So once you have a goal that leads sort of it drives everything else, and then it gives you a good guidance what money you should spend and in what priorities.
Sure.
That's one thing we learn also. And then the other thing that I also want to touch upon is the value of your data. You know, we oftentimes, you know, we spend all the money and do data project improvement and data warehouse and whatnot. You face your finance department, and they oftentimes ask you what's the ROI on this thing. And typically you kind of mouth shut for this kind of question. Right. Despite your brilliant actuary, it's really hard to answer this question.
Right.
And so we sort of turn this question around and use a different approach to answer this, which is the idea of the value of your customer. So if you think that your data is worth nothing to you unless you can use it to sell more product and make more money out of it, your data is worthless, right?
Right.
So if you think it that way, the only good way to measure the value of your data is how much it could help you sell. So if that becomes your measuring stick, and that is a very different angle, very helpful angle in my mind. Through the use of recommendation system, because we can tell what each customer, what they might buy and what in the future and what's the chances of selling them, we could estimate the value of those future products that the customer might buy to you, the insurer. So you begin to form a figure of value, lifetime value of the customer. And imagine you have this information, it could drive a lot of strategic actions, right? In selecting customers and maintaining customers, servicing them, or designing products for certain customers. You know, we oftentimes talk about in-force management, lapse management. You know, don't let the variable customer lapse, right?
Right.
So I think that drives everything. I think if not, you know, despite all else, I personally think it's the biggest discovery we made in this process.
Fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate, you know, where you're coming from, you know, and some of those takeaways as you talked about, you know, really understanding the value of the data, as well as, you know, what is your, you know, structuring a digitization approach. And then lastly, you know, really working to quantify the value of that data and understanding how you can use that data to sell to your customers. I think that background is really helpful. And as you talk about, transitioning from sort of a hypothetical to, what you've done in the real world, as we think about your team, and I know that, you've spoken very highly about your team and its deep experience in insurance sales, as well as, you have some of your team members who've held CMO roles with insurers. With that information and that expertise as background, I'm also interested in your perspective and how you envision this tool might support and or change the insurance sales and marketing process.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle. We do have a staff who used to be a CMO of a number of life insurance companies, and leading in like telemarketing and sales, and in all those activities, you generate a name list, a call list, and customer segments, and all those things that we actually talk about using AI tools.
Right.
In fact, they do those already, but just in a different way. It's interesting that we constantly come back to this, comparing what the old way is, what the new way could be in this process. And what we learn basically is that in the traditional the approach that we've been doing for a couple hundred years now,
right,
is to we make name lists, which customer to hit, right? And then how we segment the customer. Segmentation is a buzzword for marketing folks.
Right.
So let's say for segmentation, we used to rely on socioeconomic backgrounds, and the trouble is that we don't have much of those backgrounds.
Right.
And that was always a huge handicap. And then when you try to segment customers, you use limited information or use your experience to segment them. And then, but this is typically a very labor-intensive process.
Sure.
You might do it once a year, and then however you do, you oftentimes is subject to a lot of subjective interpretation, and you don't even get agreements among your team members oftentimes.
Right.
So the new approach that we're advocating is that we don't use the customer background anymore.
Oh.
We don't have it anyway, so might as well give it up. And then we start using the behavior, typically what is embedded inside the company, because your admin system will have what this person bought, and maybe when he called or she make a claim and all that stuff. Those are the footprint in your company that you do have. So we make use of that information and do this segmentation using the behavior and do it automatically and in real time, really. So that's one difference. And secondly, when we do bundle products, bundle sales, and that's also a buzzword for marketing folks. We try to sell products together in a bundle. But oftentimes the rules for deciding those bundles are mostly discovered by your personal experience, past experience, or some statistics that you might put together. The statistics are oftentimes simple ones with limited dimensions of data. And if you get to too many dimensions, people's mind get confused.
Right.
And that's where AI does better than machine learning. AI does better than human. So we could study the products and the triangular relationship that we did talk about between agent and customer and the product, and then and discover those bundle sales opportunities, again automatically in real time. And then the other thing is name list. That's also a buzzword. We create name list. We use some kind of rules to generate that, whatever that is, some rules.
Right.
Oftentimes it's also labor intensive and with maybe once a year kind of exercise. It's subject to all the shortcomings that I described.
Sure.
So with AI, we could change all that, and we can have it done more frequently, on demand if you want. And then the information is much more complex. I mean, they come out of much more complex analysis of the relationship of the data. I would say, oftentimes better than what our typical human mind can do.
Right. Right.
And so, but the other thing is, we just when investment in AI technology to help agency, this idea alone, we found that it's pretty welcome for by the field sales force. I think we all know that recent years digitalization and a lot of insurtech startups and digital insurers, they're all doing everything online. And in today's atmosphere, people, particularly the professional insurance agents, they feel like they are taken over by the internet.
Right. Right.
Taken over by Googles and the like. And but through these projects, we show to the company and we show to the agent that in fact we still have a lot of valuable information, and we could use the same kind of tools that this digital competitors use.
Right.
And so and help them sell better, and there's a huge potential in this. The next thing we'll do is to use the same kind of idea to help agents survive. Basically, how do you improve the agent retention rate? So everything to help with the agents do a better job and provide better service, and sort of elevate their fear in a digitalized world. We think that this is viewed very positively by the field sales force. So that's an interesting thing that we discovered.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think, even as we're speaking with you about Taiwan Life and the work that you're doing in your markets, I mean, I think that, some of the language we're speaking here is universal. I think that's, it's certainly something that as we think about similarly in the American market, that, some of the tools and some of the things you're speaking about, not looking to replace agents, really looking to help them, how can they do their jobs better? How can they hit target markets more effectively, and ultimately do their jobs in a way that's more productive and serves them and serves the company and serves the customer, all of those markets. So I think that, you've touched upon a number of things here that are really fascinating. I think that as we think about this, I think you've mentioned as well that you're looking to perhaps launch a pilot experiment that may test the AI recommender tool even further. Interested if you could perhaps highlight some of the testing you expect to do and the angles and perspectives that you might look to assess, along with how you may collaborate with Taiwan Life in that process.
Yeah, that's correct, Nick. We are taking this to the next step, doing a live field test. So the idea is to work with Taiwan Life. We're going to conduct an experiment in the next few months. Basically, we would have the traditional approach, so the existing approach of making name list recommendation, that information that you currently feed to the sales team versus what this tool would feed to the sales team.
Okay.
And we have worked with Taiwan Life's team very hard to define an as scientific approach as possible to measure the difference of these two approaches. And in the process, we will also conduct some workshops to solicit feedbacks from the field sales force, and hopefully those workshops will provide some insights to help us improve our process. So yeah, we are really excited about that, and that will happen in the next few months.
Right. Really just, I think fascinating. And I think that, I'm hopeful for our audience and all the viewers of our video cast here that, even as you and Frank have spoken about the experience and some of the innovations, challenges, and efficiencies that you're either have already developed or will be developing, that as you're speaking about the market, as you're marketing as you're marketing life insurance in your markets, that in many ways, I think that many of the innovations, challenges, and efficiencies that you're seeking to develop are really pretty universal. And so with that, I just want to express again my appreciation, Wing, to you and the work that you've described and the background you've provided. Similarly express my appreciation and thankfulness to Frank for the insight and really sort of making this real world for us, that it's not just consultants developing these wild ideas, but it's really taking some fundamental concepts and transforming them and really the innovation and the work that Taiwan Life is doing with your guidance and really ultimately for everybody here, viewing this video cast, is how we can meld the sales and marketing world, the marketing and distribution worlds, with the expertise that we as actuaries can bring to that space as well. Again, Wing, I want to thank you. Similarly, thank Frank for his time and expertise. Look forward to any feedback that individuals may have, and look forward to perhaps touching base with you and Frank in the future as you take some of these smaller tests and these next steps that you're taking and where that might take you in the sales, marketing, and distribution of insurance products.